All right, so the topic is slope-intercept form, and there are two words that you see here. One is slope. Okay, we're familiar with that now. Okay, that's the steepness and direction of the line. And we also have already talked about intercepts. We've already talked about x-intercept and y-intercept. The only intercept we're going to focus on today is the y-intercept, so not the x. So this particular intercept will be referencing the y-intercept. All right, so we're going to go over how you write an equation of a line. So even though they have given us this equation, what we want to do, let's say you have, because you will have a problem like this on your homework, where they will just give you a line and you have to determine what the equation of this line is. There are two things you need to know to write an equation. One is the slope, this word right here, slope at the bottom, and the y-intercept, like where the line crosses the y-axis. So if you have a nice visual like this, and they've already identified the points, then you can just take those 2 points and find your slope. So first, is this line going in a positive direction or negative? Okay, it's going to the right, so we call that a positive slope. So we're going to go ahead and make our right triangle so we can do rise over run. Okay, so the rise and the run. So if you look on the side here, okay, you do your rise number. What is my rise number on the side? So we got 3 on this side, is that correct? And if you want to count down, you could say -3 and then negative this way, because that makes it a positive. But since we already know it's positive, we're just going to say 3 here. And this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 here. And again, if you want to be technical, we could do the negative and the negative. Okay. And so we know that our slope is 3/5. Okay. So that's what the lesson we did last time with rise over run. Okay. Not a big deal. We know too that the y-intercept means where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay. So now where does this line cross the y-axis at negative what? Here it is right here at -2. There you go. Those are the 2 pieces of information we need to know to write the equation. So if you look up here where they had already written the equation, you can see that this number here is your slope, and this number here in the equation is your y-intercept. So now when you guys look at a linear equation, you will be able to identify which number represents the slope, which is the one that's beside x, and which one represents where the line crosses the y-axis. Okay. All right, let's move on. So we're going to do the exact same thing here, and this would be the process you would take when you're given a line and you have to find the equation of that line. Well, first, is this going in a positive direction or a negative direction? So we already know our slope is going to be negative. Okay, that's always good to identify first. We already know we're going to have a negative slope. So when we connect these 2 points, okay, making our right triangle, and now we're going to determine what the slope is. Okay, so we already know it's negative. Okay, we can say negative going down, positive going right, but we already again know that's going to be a negative slope. So if I count down, that's 1, 2, 3. So that would be like -3. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So -3/6. But I can actually reduce -3/6 to what? -1/2. Okay, because you always want to reduce if you can. So I already know that my slope is -1/2. Okay, I already know that. Now I just look at the line and see where it's crossing the y-axis, which is right here. And that's going to be at +3. We already knew that because they had given us the equation up here. But again, this is how you can verify it. Now on your homework, they're not going to give you the equation and then tell you to verify it. They're just going to give you the line, the graph of the line. You have to go through, okay, what is the slope? What is the y-intercept? Put those 2 things together to write my equation. All All right. Any questions so far? All right. So now on this tab here, you'll see y equals mx plus b. So we do already know that m represents a slope. I also want you to go ahead and fill in and write the slope formula. Okay, so this is the formula we used last time. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Okay, so that's if you have two coordinates and you can use the formula. Now we're giving the y-intercept a letter, which is b. Because remember in our last unit, we only said y-intercept was called y-intercept. Y-intercept now is called b. So in this slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, b is the y-intercept. All right, let's move on. So now, again, we're going to identify the slope and the y-intercept, and then we're going to write it in slope-intercept form. So on your homework, it will say, write the equation in slope-intercept form. They're not going to take you all the way through the steps. So you know, in order to put it in slope-intercept form, if you listen to the name slope-intercept form, you got to have the slope and the intercept. Okay, where it's crossing the y-axis. So let's do the slope, and now they identified 3 points. You can just choose any two. You can choose the first two, the last two, the first and the last. It doesn't matter which two you connect. Okay, I'm just going to use these two. Okay, so I want someone to tell me the slope. We have our rise number over here. We have the run at the bottom. Okay, remember I said you got to run on a flat surface. So what would be my slope for this particular question here? Who can tell me? Yes. 1/4. Right, so we have 1 on the side, and if you start at the corner, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 1/4 as the slope. Where is this line crossing the y-axis? We know this is the y-axis, the y to the sky. Okay, where is it crossing the y-axis, everybody? -3. Okay, so you got to either say negative or positive. Okay, because you know it's negative is down here, it's positive if it's up here. So when I write my equation, I'm going to say y equals 1/4 x minus 3. You just put your two numbers together. Okay, the slope number goes beside x. Your b is the y-intercept, so that's -3. You have to start off with y equals. Okay, let's do the next one. Same thing. Okay, we already know this is going to be a negative slope. And again, it doesn't matter which 2 points you connect. Okay, so I'm going to let you all tell me what the slope is. It's negative something. All right, so we're going to end up having the slope as being -3/4. Okay, that's correct. And then we look to see where it's crossing the y-axis at +1. All right, and then we write our equation using those two numbers. Y equals -3/4 x plus 1, because it's a +1. So I'm going to have you do the next couple of problems, and then I'll come back and see what you got as an answer. Okay, you can check with people at your table, see if you're getting the same answers. Okay, go ahead and finish up with 3 and 4. Okay, all right, so let's just take a look at question number 3. All right, who can tell me the slope for this one? And again, you can choose any 2 points to find the rise over run. We know it's negative, and it's negative what? 2. All right, let's take a look. It's negative 2. And then this is crossing the y-axis at what number, everyone? 4. Okay. And then who can tell me what the equation would be? Okay. Very good. Y equals negative 2x plus 4. And don't leave it as negative 2 over 1. You do have to say negative 2. Okay, so you want to make sure you just don't leave it as negative 2 over 1. You want to say that equals to negative 2. All right, let's do the next one. All right, someone give me the slope. All right, 2/5. What's the y-intercept? Actually, the y-intercept is 0. Now, this is where one of those exceptions where you do not write 0. So we're not going to say y equals 2/5 x plus 0. We just say y equals 2/5 x. So you have to know if it's passing through the origin, you don't put plus 0. Okay? It's one of those exceptions. All right, any questions so far? Because now we're going to get into some graphing. Okay? All right, so I'm going to have you write down some steps to graph using slope-intercept form. So now, lately, we've been using a table on the calculator. So now you will be able to graph without using a table. You're going to be graphing using the slope and y-intercept. Okay, so here are the steps. So please write these down. You're going to first identify the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, that's the B. So if you want to say identify M and B, that's fine. You can kind of paraphrase that, identify M and B, because B is the slope, M is the y-intercept. Then you're going to plot the y-intercept. So that's where you're going to start. You're going to start with the y-intercept. And then step 3, use the slope to plot additional points. And you can stop it right there at additional points. Is start with your B. Okay, B is the y-intercept. So this is your beginning. This is where you begin, right here at -1 on the y-axis. So I'm going to go to -1 on the y-axis, which is right here. Okay, that's going to be my starting point. Okay, that's where you begin. So just think of that y equals mx plus b. B is where you begin on the graph. Then you're going to, from there, you're going to graph using the slope. So remember, slope is rise over run. So I'm going to start from where B is. I'm going to go up 2, 1, 2, and then over 3. That's the rise and the run. And there's my other point. Just like that. There's my slope. Now it was positive, so that's why I went up and to the right. Okay, now I'm going to do another point. So you can do this as many times as your graph will allow you. I'm going to go up 2 again, over 3, and there's my other point. Okay, and you don't have to make these little marks. I'm just doing that just to show you. It's rise over run, rise up 2, run 3, and you place your point. Okay, then you connect them, of course, and put arrows on both ends. So that's a lot faster than just punching it in, then making a T-table, and then going to the table and picking points. Okay, you start with your y-intercept, then your slope, rise over run, up 2 over 3. Now, I could also do a double negative and go down 2, and then to the left 3. Okay, that also makes it a positive slope. So you could also go down 2, to the left 3. That's a double negative, which makes it still a positive. Okay. All right, let's try the next couple ones. So this is where we're going to begin. Okay, that's your beginning point for number 1 here. So that means you're going to start at right here at -4. And then your slope is 1 over 3. So you go up 1 over 3, up 1 over 3, rise over run. You can also do down 1 to the left 3, down 1 to the left 3. Okay, see if you have any questions on that. Always begin with the y-intercept and then do your slope. Up 1/3 or down 1/3. Now this is if the slope is positive. Okay, this is how you would do a positive slope. Okay. Notice number 2 is a negative slope. Okay. So, and notice it only had one number for the slope. So you have to understand, if you only see -5, you know it's -5/1. Okay. It has to have two numbers to do rise over run. So I'm going to start at +3. This is your starting point. Okay. That's where you're going to begin, at +3. Since your slope is negative, I'm going to go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then to the right 1. Please don't go down and left, because that's two negatives, which makes it a positive. Okay, so you go down and right. Now I could also go, but I don't have enough space, but I could also go up and left, but I just don't have enough space to do that, as long as I go in one negative direction. Okay. And you might even want to put that under the negative one. You could either go up and left for negative, or down and right, because you have to, if you go in the wrong direction for the slope, you're going to get the wrong line graphed. Okay, so that's how you would do a negative slope. Positive slopes, let's put it over here. You can go up and right, or down and left. Okay, you can do a double negative. So that's how you would do a positive slope. You can move up and then right, or you can use down and then left. Okay, that's the directions you should go for your slopes. All right, so do the last two. Now notice this one right here only had x, so you have to know that that means it's 1x, or 1/1. And for number 4, it's going to be 3/1. But notice in number 4, guys, there was not a beginning point, so you know it's +0. Remember, we don't write 0. So that's where you will actually start for your beginning point for number 4. All right, so let's take a look at number 3. So number 3, I'm going to start at 2. And then they did a whole lot of points, because they went up 1/1, up 1/1. They did that a whole lot for the slope. And then they went down, left, down, left, down, left. You don't have to make that many. I will probably tell you, if you were doing your homework or doing an assignment for me, choose at least, have at least 4 points total. Okay, if it'll fit on your graph. For number 4, you start here at 0, 0, and then go up 3/1, up 3/1, or down 3 to the left 1.